We have some breaking news that we've been following all morning long. Flights are starting again to resume at DIA after a computer outage at the Federal Aviation Administration, and it grounded all flights across the country early this morning.
Yeah, 9 News reporter Courtney Yoon joins us now live from DIA. And Courtney, as you've been talking about throughout the morning, we have seen hundreds of flights delayed already.
Yeah, good morning, Jordan and Corey. And hopefully some of those delays are getting reversed. We just spoke with someone who had a delay. Their flight's supposed to go out at 12:30 today. They were delayed until 5 p.m. and now their delay is coming back, or their delay is getting canceled. So hopefully some other people will get to experience that as well. Here's a look at what the check-in counter over at Southwest looks like right now. It got really busy once they made that announcement that the ground stop was over, and then the line got kind of long, but it quickly whittled down here. So hopefully people are getting to where they need to get this morning. The FAA says normal air traffic operations are resuming gradually across the U.S. following an overnight outage to the Notice to Air Mission system that provides safety info to flight crews. The ground stop across the nation again has been lifted. Denver International Airport says there have been no flights out of the airport since around 5 a.m., but that should be resuming now. But again, yeah, those are now resuming. The airport says they estimate this has affected more than 60 flights out of Denver, and they're expecting that many flights today will be delayed and some might be canceled due to the ground stop. Passengers are encouraged to check their flight status before arriving to Denver International Airport. Check with your airline to make sure that you're not delayed or canceled. And then the FAA is saying that they're still trying to look into what the initial cause of this was, but so far there's no word on what made this all happen today.
Yeah, a lot of people looking for that answer. Courtney, I mean, we saw you out there for days in a row just a few weeks ago with the travel nightmare that we were seeing at the airport. I mean, you can only imagine that passengers, when they heard this news this morning, were kind of probably spiraling, thinking, oh no, not again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was thinking the same thing, like, oh, these poor travelers, like, again, they're having to deal with this. And you can kind of tell when we walked into the airport this morning that it was like kind of a solemn atmosphere, like people didn't look too hopeful. But thankfully, it was only a couple hours that this happened, and then flights started to resume. So I think people are happy to be on their way.
I would agree with that. All right.
Big time. Courtney, thank you.
An unlicensed security guard is charged with murder after investigators say he shot and killed a customer outside the bar that hired him. Denver has now suspended that business. 9 News reporter Darius Johnson joins us live from downtown Denver. And Darius, this isn't the first time this bar has been in trouble.
Yeah, records show that this restaurant and bar has been accused of violations in the past, some of those just taking place within the last month, involving that same security company as well. Those violations include having unlicensed security guards who are armed with either ballistics vests, guns, tasers, chemical sprays, or even batons. Security guard companies, however, in the city of Denver are required to go through a background check, have a license, and undergo training. This all happened Monday just after midnight. Police say a fight broke out at Lempira Restaurant and Bar on United in Colfax. Officers were able to watch the fight from a nearby surveillance camera, and police say it shows 5 men who took cover behind a truck. It's unclear exactly who those 5 men were and if they had any involvement in the fight. 23-year-old Dante Pacheco Rodriguez was acting as an unlicensed security guard that night. He then fired at the truck those men were hiding behind several times. The men then hopped in the truck and drove off. Rodriguez fired several more times, hitting the driver, who later died at the hospital. Rodriguez was later arrested and charged with murder. Now, records show 3 of the 4 security guards that night were unlicensed, and right now I can tell you that the restaurant and the security guard company have had to stop operations after a hearing over those prior violations. I will tell you that the Department of Excise and Licenses says they will continue to figure out exactly if the 2 will be able to continue operations after that hearing. We're live in Denver this morning. I'm Darius Johnson.
Yeah, a lot of answers to still get from there. All right, Darius, thank you.
Lakewood police believe there are more victims who were attacked on RTD's W line late last year, and if you're one of them, they want to hear from you. Right now, 13 juveniles face charges for 2 attacks on the light rail, one in October and one in November. Police continued the investigation after the arrest and now believe the juveniles also attacked other people on the train between late August and early November of last year. Prosecutors have alleged in court that the incidents were for social media notoriety. The W line runs from downtown Denver to Golden. If you have any information, call Lakewood Police.
New police documents show the man accused of killing a convenience store owner last week told detectives he did it to get back at the owner. The affidavit says 26-year-old Jonathan Chance admitted he was in that Wheat Ridge Valero store 2 days before and believed the owner, quote, ripped him off, so he went back with a gun to, quote, rough him up and get his money back. But the report reads that Chance assaulted the owner in a storeroom and claims he unintentionally shot the victim. But then Chance told detectives, quote, life happened. Chance is accused of then driving off in the owner's car and making it to Indiana before police arrested him.
It's been less than 2 weeks since Colorado's Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives Act went into effect. In that time, alerts have gone out for a 14-year-old kid in Pagosa Springs and a 27-year-old man in Denver. The legislation was designed to expand and improve investigations into missing and murdered Indigenous people. Retired Denver Police Detective Abe Alonzo is a big supporter of this new legislation. Alonzo was largely responsible for solving the 1975 murder of Anna Mae Aquash, who was kidnapped from a house on North Pecos Street and then found shot to death in South Dakota. It took police more than 20 years to make arrests in that case. Alonzo says if the Missing Indigenous Person Act had been around in the 1970s, Anna Mae's murder might have been solved much faster.
I think the press, to get the word out, so to speak, I think it might have helped.
Alonzo says he also believes that the new legislation will improve the relationship between law enforcement and Indigenous communities, which could likely result in more crimes being solved.
Denver Public Schools could be making a decision they have not made in more than a decade. That's to close a charter school. Superintendent Alex Marrero is recommending the board take the rare step of not renewing Strive Prep Kepner's charter. The middle school is in Denver's Westwood neighborhood. Kepner's students scored in the first percentile on that state and math reading test last spring, meaning 99% of Colorado students did better. The board will meet Thursday about not renewing that charter. In a letter, Kepner leadership apologized to families, saying they did not live up to their promises. And right now, about approximately 180 students attend that school, all according to the district. The school says they will support families in finding the best school options for their students when the choice window opens on Friday.
It is so rare to see in a charter school. Colorado's high school seniors just pulled off the highest high school graduation rate in 10 years. But in the same school year, the number of kids who dropped out of school also went up. State education leaders told our Jennifer Meckles it's unusual for both of those trends to increase at the same time.
Last year's graduates lived through 2 years of pandemic disruptions. But this week, the state says the students persevered.
We are seeing the highest graduation rate that we've seen since 2010.
The four-year graduation rate for the class of 2022 was 82.3%, a slight increase from the year before and nearly a 10% increase since 2010, with gains for most students of color, Black, Latino, and Asian students, gains for students with disabilities, English learners, even students facing homelessness.
So that is a really positive news. More kids meeting expectations and ready for what's next.
But strangely, another trend increased too. 10,524 students between 7th and 12th grades dropped out. That is 2.2%, not only more than the year before, but the first increase since 2015.
So definitely kind of a little bit of a flag and trying to think about what that means and what that impact was.
I wasn't completely surprised.
Steve Dobo is the founder and CEO of Zero Dropouts, an organization dedicated to helping keep kids in school and graduating on time.
The pandemic hit and it affected a lot of students, but now we're getting the results of that effect of the pandemic.
When remote learning began, Dobo said many kids left for other things, like family needs or economic needs.
So some are working and making $25, $30 an hour, and so they're comparing that and making that kind of money to going back to high school and finishing high school. So we've got to make it very relevant to them to get back.
And what are some successful ways to bring them back?
There are certainly disparities within the data. One of note, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander and American Indian Alaskan Native represent the smallest student populations but the highest dropout rates, and both saw a decrease in graduation rates. The state says they hope to learn from this data so districts can respond to meet students' needs and close gaps.